Welcome into another edition of Sean Paul News and Comment. Today we're going to be talking about a Christmas gift that I got from my wife Kim. I had posted this on Twitter a couple of weeks ago, and I decided that I'm going to talk about it and review it a little bit today. As many of you know, if you follow me on Twitter, if you're on Facebook, if you're local, that kind of thing, I like beer. I've liked beer for a long time, so my wife Kim decided to buy me a Mr.Beer home brewing kit. Now, I'm sure you've seen these things. You can order them off the internet. I know Target sells them. Several other places sell them. I've asked Andrew and Wesley, my sons, to help me today so we get everything in focus and we show everything that needs to be shown and that kind of stuff. Now, let me begin by saying that I in no way advocate, condone, or accept underage drinking. So let's get that out of the way right up front so that nobody has any issue with that. And I've asked them to help me, like I said, so we get everything in focus. So now we'll start talking a little bit about the Mr.Beer. I'm not going to make Mr.Beer today. We will do that in the future, but I'm going to just kind of talk about the equipment. I'm going to kind of talk about what comes in the package, kind of talk about what you get and the directions and what we're supposed to do here. So let's start by talking about the actual what comes in the package. This is the Mr.Beer. This is the Mr.Beer 2-gallon keg, and as you can see on the front of it, we have a spout. This is what we'll talk a little bit more about this later, but this is the 2-gallon keg. You mix your brew in this. You also let your brew ferment in this before you actually put it in the bottle. So this will come in the kit. This is the main component of the kit. The little yellow jug, as they call these on the internet. If you research these on the internet, you'll see these referred to in the Mr.Beer forums and other places as the little yellow jug. They also will come with a package of non-washable. In other words, you put this in with water. You put that in with water. You shake it up in this keg right here, and you disinfect everything. One of the keys to making beer is you have to disinfect everything you do. You'll use most of this package that Wesley has there. You'll use most of it in your little yellow jug here before you even start to disinfect the little yellow jug and other things. Now I'll get to the rest. I'll get back to what we're supposed to do in just a minute. And how we actually go through the making process in just a minute. Now, also in these you will come with this is your actual can, this is beer in here. So in other words, what you'll do is in this can comes your actual brew component. The yeast is located up under this tab right here, and there's also a packet of powder booster in here. So we'll get to a little bit about how you actually make it now. So also in this you'll come with the directions. Let's see if you'll get those and hold them up for me. That's the direction booklet, and also a little card will come with this that you can get on the internet. And if you register your brewer, they will send you 2 free gifts: a sugar measuring spoon and some other device. I think it varies with different ones that you get. So you have to register your device, your brewing kit, to actually get these 2 free gifts that come in the mail within 14, 21 days, 2-3 weeks, something like that. So now let's actually get into what we do with this kit. We'll actually take the brewer here. And when we start, first of all, the directions tell you to disinfect it. So you'll take the top off here, and you will take this powder and you use most of this powder, not all of it, but most of this powder, you'll pour it into this jug up to the line on the back. One of these lines, I think it's the second one here. I'd have to go back and read the directions. And you swirl and swish it around in this jug. Now, one of the other things that you also have to do when you make this beer is you have to put any components that you intend to use, you have to disinfect them also. So what they recommend on the internet is they recommend that you take and put like the spoon that you're going to use to stir with, any measuring cups, anything like that. They recommend that you put them down in here as well as you're disinfecting, so you disinfect them also and you shake it around. Now, one of the things to remember to be careful when you shake this thing is there are 2 holes up here at the top, and these holes are in this device by design. We'll get to that in a minute, but be real careful when you shake this around that you don't tip it upside down, because there's 2 holes up here at the top of this thing. Again, we'll get to it in just a minute, but you don't want to turn it upside down, or you don't want to vigorously shake it. So you make sure that nothing comes out of these holes up here on the top. Now, one of the things that they recommend that you do is also disinfect a bowl or a plate to put your utensils on that you're going to use as well. So what they recommend is that you take and you set this down on the counter and you open this valve up down here and let some of the disinfectant drip out onto a plate or into a bowl, so that you're disinfecting the items that you're going to use. So then you'll close this up after you've disinfected your bowl. You'll take the material that you have in here, such as a measuring spoon, measuring cup, anything that, a stirring spoon, you'll take these out and you'll drop these in this bowl down here that you've disinfected. Now, before we actually have beer, you actually have to take this here. What they recommend that you do with this is in powder form in here. So to make the powder come out easier, they recommend that you drop this can into warm water. Not hot water, but warm water. Let's say lukewarm water. It eases up that powder. But before you do that, you want to take this top off here, and you want to take the yeast packet and the booster packet that's under this top here out. Replace this top and put this down in warm water. Now, just for the record, the yeast pack and the booster pack are kept separate by a sealed film over this, underneath this lid right here. If we take this lid off, the yeast pack and the booster pack, and then a sealed cap are underneath this. So what you'll do is you'll take this and you will put this in warm water, and you will let the powder kind of loosen up. Meanwhile, while you're doing that, on your stove, you'll take a 4-ounce pot of water, and you will get it close to a boil. Now, once you get it close to a boil, you remove this from your warm water. You will take the yeast pack and you will set it aside. You will take the content of this can and you will dump it into this pot of boiling water that's on your stove. You will also put the booster pack into that as well. Now, once you've done that, you'll stir. You'll bring this to a boil. You'll let it boil for just a few minutes. You don't want this to boil for a long period of time on your stove. Now, once you've done that, you'll take that boiling water, you put some water in this, and forgive me, I can't remember right off the top of my head the exact instructions, so you'll need to read your instructions. Don't count on me for instruction. You'll put some cool water in this. Once you put cool water back in this, you will then put the boiling water, or the boiling content of the water, the brew in essence, you will pour it down into this. While it's hot, you'll pour it down into this little yellow jug here, and then you will fill the remainder of this jug with cold water. Now, let me say before you do this, obviously we have dumped the content out back up the road. I forgot to mention that we will dump the purification content out. You do not rinse when you dump this out. You just dump it out. The contents will come out, of course, and you leave as is. So in other words, it's a rinse-free disinfectant. So you don't rinse it, you don't wash it, you don't do anything to it once you've disinfected it. Now, back to where we were. You'll put the content of your boiling pot into the little bit of cool water in here. You'll stir that up with the spoon that you've disinfected, not the same spoon that you use to stir on the stove, but the spoon which you've disinfected. And you will stir this up. Then you will continue to fill with cold water up to this 2-gallon mark on the back of this jug here. Now, one of the things I will say, obviously, hopefully everybody would figure this out, but make absolutely sure before you start pouring any content into this jug that this valve up here is closed. Because if you don't, obviously everything starts to come out this valve there and you have a mess in your kitchen. And then you have no beer. So, what you want to do is make sure this is closed, fill with cool water, pour the content of your boiling water, your boiling pack that you boiled on the stove. You'll pour it in here, you will fill with warm water, or cold water, and then you will continue to stir and stir and stir. Now, once you've stirred all this up, you will replace the top here. Again, a minute ago I said that there were holes up here. There are holes up here. There are two. There's one up on the front here, and there's one back here in the back. That is for the gases to escape. Oh, wait a minute, I forgot to say, before we close it up, we can close it up, but we're not completely done. We want to shake this content very lightly, because remember, we're up to the 2-gallon mark now. We're way up here at the top. So what we want to do is shake very, very lightly to mix up the cold water, the ingredients of our boiling water, in other words, our beer. We want to mix this up in this jug. So we want to shake very lightly so that we don't lose anything out of these two holes up here. Then we will take the top back off of this, and then we will put our yeast pack. We will need to put that in here. Once we put our yeast pack in here, we will stir with our spoon, our disinfected spoon. We will stir, stir, stir again. Very good. We want to make sure that our yeast, because yeast is what makes beer, so we want to make sure that our yeast is happy. So we make sure our yeast is happy by stirring it around in here very good. And once we do that, we will replace the lid to this here, to our little yellow jug. And we will shake very lightly, move it around, because again, we don't want anything to escape out of our little holes up here. Now, let's address the little holes up here. These little holes are put in the top of this jug to let the gases escape. If you didn't have holes up here, the gases would back up in here and this jug would bust. You would bust the jug. So we have to have holes to let the gases escape. So in the fermenting process, yeast ferments the beer. Now, in these directions, they talk about leaving this in this jug for 7 days. The information that I have found on the internet says that 7 days is not enough to get a good, full quality, full-bodied beer. So I recommend, and they recommend, 2 weeks in the little yellow jug. In other words, so we'll talk about the 2 by 2 by 2 rule. So you leave this in here for 2 weeks. You don't touch it. You don't take the top off of it. You don't mess with it at all. And you want to make sure that this is kept in an environment with minimal light and between 68 and 76 degrees. That's what keeps your yeast happy. That's what makes your yeast do its thing. That's what makes it ferment the beer inside this jug here. Now, once 2 weeks have passed, you will have to order some bottles You can either use bottles which you have, if you're a beer drinker and you've saved some bottles, or you've ordered some from Mr.Beer. They have glass bottles, they have 16-ounce plastic bottles, they have 16-ounce swing top bottles. That's the ones that have a little spring in them and you spring it over and pull it down. They have liter bottles that you can order from them. The 16-ounce swing top and the 12-ounce are glass. They also have tops that come for the 12-ounce bottles. The 16-ounce bottles, they have 16-ounce plastic bottles. They also have 1 liter plastic bottles. Those come with tops, and they will once you order those, they will send you a device that has a topper in it to take the bottle, put the top on it, you screw it down, but then you really torque it down to make sure no air gets in and no air escapes from the bottle once you bottle. So once you've let this set in here for 2 weeks, you will take what is left. Where is my, there it is. There it is. You will save a little bit of this disinfectant pack, and you will put the remainder of it in some water, and you will take and you will disinfect your bottles. So in other words, you need to pour the water into your bottles, fill them up, dump them out. Fill them up, dump them out. Everything, one of the real keys to making homebrew beer is disinfecting. Disinfect, disinfect, disinfect. That's the key thing to making sure that your beer tastes like it's supposed to and doesn't have a chemical taste. So now, once you've done that, you'll take and you'll come up here to the spout, and you will turn the spout just enough to start filling your bottles. Once your keg here is empty, you filled your bottles. Let's say you've gotten 12, 16, 20 bottles, whatever it is you've gotten, depending on what size bottle you've got. You will need to add sugar to those bottles. Now I know that they recommend on here, on the directions that come with this, they recommend putting the sugar in at the end. Once you've filled your bottle, then they recommend putting the sugar in, capping and inverting the bottle and shaking. Now, some of the research that I have done on the internet says that you should put the sugar in prior to filling the bottle from here, which I think would be easier if you ask me. It also keeps you from having to store the bottle inverted. In other words, you'll cap the bottle, you'll take your capper, you'll make sure that you're screwed down good, you'll shake it to make sure the sugar gets around. Then you will need to set your bottles aside for a period of 2 weeks. Again, the directions that come with this device say 7 days. The research that I have done on the internet says 2 weeks. So, 2 weeks in the keg, 2 weeks after you've bottled. So now we're up to 4 weeks. So in other words, we've done the 2 by 2 so far. Now, once you set these in the bottle at room temperature 68 to 76 degrees in a cool, dry place with minimal lighting, after 2 weeks, you can refrigerate the beer. At that point, you've stopped the fermenting process. The fermenting process has started, and now you've started the cold filtering process. Now, again, this is strictly up to you. You can put these in there for a day or two till they're cold to the feel, and you can start drinking. Again, the research that I've done on the internet recommends the 2 by 2 by 2 rule. 2 weeks in here, 2 weeks in the bottle in a cool, dry place, and 2 weeks in the refrigerator. So in other words, you're looking at 6 weeks before you can have friends over and drink your own homemade brew. Now, this here, there are tons of these on Mr. Beer's website. at Mr.Beer.com. I will put a link in the video notes to the actual site. Except there are tons of these on their site. This is light. This is American Light. This is what comes with most of these kits, as I'm given to understand. It's what came with the one that Kim got me. But there are anything from German, Mexican, American lagers, Oktoberfest. There's all kinds of beer on their site that you can actually purchase. These things run anywhere from $16 to $22 for the entire kit to make 2 gallons of beer. Now, if you order these, you can also order the bottles that you'll need if you don't have the bottles from MrBeer.com. They also have forums that you can go to, and you can talk to other, what they refer to as, quote, brewmasters, quote, and you can get ideas on how to make this work better for you. They also sell boosters. They also sell, have other recipes that you yourself can actually make on there. So there's a lot of good information on MrBeer.com that you can find to actually make beer at home. Now again, I've not made this yet. I'm very anxious to try it. Once I actually make some, I will post a video down the line, another YouTube video talking about the whole process itself and how the beer actually tasted. So as we close here, I'd like to thank you for joining me. I'd like to thank Wesley and Andrew for their help in making this possible. Make sure that you're subscribed to the channel here for all kinds of upcoming content from me, all kinds of upcoming content about the Chattanooga, Tennessee area itself, trips that I take, adventures that I get on, things of that nature, my political rants, my sports rants, that kind of stuff. So make sure you're subscribed to the YouTube channel. Also make sure you're following me, easy for me to say, and I talk for a living. Make sure you're following me on Twitter at twitter.com/newsandtraffic. Also, you can leave any comments to the video on the video, or you may email me directly at newsandtraffic@gmail.com. Thank you, and until next time, have a great day.